evening and welcome to DJNTV. Tonight it is Tuesday night, and Tuesday night we have our second interview show of the week. And tonight I am joined by the one and only DJ Supafly. Ivan, good evening.
Hello, hello. Hi, John. How are you?
Oh man, great. I'm excited to have you on. It's been like a minute since we've had a chance to talk and connect. So this is kind of a for some of these for my guests are people that I've known for a long time, and it's kind of a fun time to be able to catch up with them and find out what life's doing and such. So I'm excited for our chat tonight.
Yes, I'm definitely excited.
Yeah, definitely. So before we get to that, tonight's show is sponsored by DJ Event Planner. If you guys are looking for something to put on the website to be that tool to help you connect with your clients, maybe to help them find out if you're available for dates and different things, DJEventPlanner.com has got a lot of different website tools that you can use to help couples plan their events and do their things, and all just really for the wedding DJs out there and even guys and gals who are doing other events. Great tools. Check them out, DJEventPlanner.com. So Superfly, what I want to do is I want to kind of go and we're going to talk a big thing that I've kind of been watching over the last number of years is how you have been growing your business. And that's going to be part of our real talk tonight we'll get into. But first off, for those who don't know you, let's kind of do that little elevator speech, kind of where you're from, where you're working at now, what kind of events you kind of specialize in. And then we're going to go back and kind of paint the picture from the beginning. So where's home, where do you work and where's home now?
So I'm in Minnesota, just like you. Out in the cold, you can see the background. We got a nice.
Yeah, he's got the northern lights here.
Yeah, Northern Lights. So I'm closer where John is. I'm originally from Texas. I've been in Minnesota for more than 20 years. I've done lots of different events where it involved breakdancing back in the day, right? Where we do,
Nice.
we do competitions and all that. So I was in the low key, kind of dealing with a lot of local competitions here and there, right? But as I, got older, right, with how much physical ability or with age and
The body doesn't respond like it used to,
yes, I transitioned to DJing. So I've been in Rochester, so I'm in Rochester, Minnesota at the moment, and I've been just living the dream here. It's a small town. I mean, you pretty much know how small of a town it is, but we have the number one clinic of the world, Mayo Clinic. We definitely have a nice client base that has literally helped me transition into becoming, now I would say like the good DJ, but a very versatile DJ because it's not just, DJing for the Spanish market, but rather I do a lot of corporate gigs and everything that happens here from just guests from all over the world. They seem
Yeah.
to come to this specific town just for meetings or just for anything with dealing with doctors. But as to a point where, how did I get into the DJing part? I mean, having that background with just the breakdancing part of it kind of helped me transcend, to knowing the roots of, hip hop and all that. But
Sure.
knowing just the connections I have with DJs there, it helped me, transcend into my own style of mixing because I'm a scratch DJ too. So even
Yep.
with that and just kind of blended it in together as well as with the Latin market. And I think my niche and what I think I make most of my profit in is the bilingual weddings because there's a lot of
Oh, and there's
business
demand for that.
for
Definitely a demand for
for
that.
sh- very high demand, especially in Minnesota.
Yeah.
There's a lot of interracial couples just getting married, and they want that, that experience where, they want both cultures and just, being here for so long, you get to understand, what culture likes what and what music and getting to know the crowd, right? And that's
Yeah.
the hardest part.
And it definitely is. As someone who's performed in Minnesota for 30 years, and I don't have that experience that you do, and the ability to speak Spanish. That's my downfall, a huge downfall for me, because some beautiful young couples are wanting to get married, and they're looking for that bilingual type of experience, and it's like I
Yes.
can't. I would love to. I mean, oh my gosh, they saw me at a bar or something, and they're like, "Hey, we love what you do," and da 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 da. da. It's like, I'm sorry, I can't do it. So let's jump back. I want to kind of go back to a young Ivan, and who in your early years, because obviously music is a big part of what you do, and there's that part of all of us that are in the DJ world. That's the kind of a passion that has been evolving since our young years, and usually there's someone who was that influence or that person who got you in essence hooked on music. Who is that for you?
I'd say there was, I think my family, my brother has been big into music as well. So he's from Texas. He lives in more of that type of vibe where it's a lot of different types of music and main San Antonio. So I grew up in San Antonio area as well. So
Hmm.
you can imagine just the cultural amount of music there. So he just inspired me a lot. That was in Texas though, but when I moved to Minnesota, there was another friend called DJ Julio. He was kind of just running basically the nightlife here in Rochester, where there was a lot of Spanish bilingual, like gay nights and all that. Where it was just a mixture of things. But with him, I think it was his inspiration to help me transition to from the DJing part of it, or from the breakdancing part of it into the DJing part of it. So
With
thanks
you,
to him, I think I'm here where I'm at.
when you with your brother now, was your brother into a certain, you meant variety of music, but what kind of genres was he kind of into that you were experiencing as a youngster?
As a youngster, it was but like freestyle type music, kind of like the old Africa Bambaataa as well. It had kind of the mixture of like, the hip '90s, hip '80s, somewhere around there, where it was just, getting into something where it was like a lot of fast-paced music, right? Kind of like before like the EDM type
Hmm.
music started. But for me, it was more like that fast-paced type, music that got me to dance, right? I mean, without having that high energy, I think I just kept that high energy ever since, and thanks to that, I mean, that's what kicked it off
Sure.
is having, even when breakdancing, my favorite songs would always be like Planet Rock or something like that, and that's just keeping that vibe where it's been continuing, like even for example putting Pitbull, right? There's a lot of Pitbull music, and there's a lot of like so many Spanish music that also it relates to that,
Hmm.
where you keep people dancing, and it just resonates for so many years of music.
Certainly. Oh yeah, there definitely has been, and depending upon your geographic region, some of the things that worked or that you were experiencing in Texas, we probably weren't seeing up here because of at that time the internet wasn't sharing songs as quickly as we did. And yes, I'm saying you're old. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Well, even then, we listen to, or his music was all back in cassette tapes.
Yeah,
So it was
yeah.
all just cassettes, or I don't know, back in the day where if you liked a specific song in the radio, you'd have to, record
Try to
that
record
specific
it.
song.
Okay, will he stop talking? Will he stop talking? Record.
Yes, we counted it down. We knew that, or we even knew how to like bypass the cassette, where it has the notch in it, so that you
Yep.
should put a little piece of paper and then you can record over it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Use another. Yep. Use that tape over. Oh, the good old days. The good old days. So, how did you get into the breakdancing? What kind of opened that window or that door for you?
I think, I mean, back in Texas again, it's just something that, as a youngster, I played lots of different sports. I mean, I played baseball. I was basically in all major sports. It's just I never caught on to, just sticking to a team, because we'd always change,
Hmm.
and it'd always be different, and different schools. And it's just, San Antonio's so big, it's crazy. But the 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 interest that caught me, because I was already, so very intrigued with music, that I just, decided to stick. Okay, let's try to find groups where, breakdancing is part, or dancing, or just guys just having fun basically, and go into battles and understanding how, like, you can have a fun battle, right, without getting into heated argument, or
Yeah. Yeah.
not the gangster type of way, and
Sure.
dealing with fights and all that. But I mean, you've seen movies, right? Breakdancing movies, and those inspired us as well. So, '80s, '90s movies. I think those were the hit back then, and that everybody just started this culture where we'd always have to be next to somebody that was always bringing music as well. So someone would have bringing their own stereo. We'd have to always make sure to have batteries and
Hmm.
cardboard box. So without any of that stuff, we wouldn't have just a party or get together with the guys.
Hmm.
Uh, and ever since middle school, I mean, even till now, when there's folks that I know that have known me since then, like I just did a wedding, or no, I would say a quinceañera a few weeks ago, and they asked me, "Are you gonna break dance?" I'm
Oh
like, "No,
wow.
I'm too old for that. I'm too old." Like, no, no,
The body doesn't move
because
like it
usually,
used to.
no, I don't know if you know this, but there's some quinceañeras they do hire. I'm sorry, just jumping off to a little
Yeah.
off
Yeah. No.
topic,
Go
but
ahead.
they hire choreographers to help with the whole,
Oh. Okay. Really? So
the
they're
whole
yeah.
dances and all. So even then, like they get into like so specific stuff, like putting the mix together and doing all this, that they ask me for my opinions, and I'm always jumping to the conclusion, all right, well, are you gonna break dance? You can do something that's like very, very traditional. I want to say traditional, right? Because everybody thinks that it's like the DJ part of it. It involves the breakdancing and then the four hip hop stages where it's MCing and all that. I think I'm more into the old school type factor where it involves when I'm DJing, I gotta involve somehow everything, keeping all the four elements alive, right?
Hmm.
And I think that's something that's I continue to do. But to the choreographers that get involved with these quinceañeras, they're always asking like, okay, well, how do we put mixes together to keep the kids entertained and the kids dancing like how they should, as well as getting the crowd engaged as well. And they always come up to me and they always say, hey, can you maybe break dance or something? And I'm like, sorry, I'm too old for that. I can't keep up anymore.
Yep. And if I get down there, I may not be getting up. It's just, yeah,
Yeah, or my back hurts or my knee hurts, and
yeah.
no. I'd have to be super excited, like super, super excited, maybe to spin here and there, and that's it.
Yeah, you need a 15 minutes of warm up for a 7 second move, and then
Yeah.
ice. I need ice after that. Oh, funny. So when you moved up to Minnesota from Texas, then were you doing any DJ work then in Texas before you moved up here, or did you really not get into the DJ realm until you came up here?
I mean, I had that background for understanding how to put mixes together with, Tractor and Virtual DJ. And that was more towards like when we would do breakdance battles, right? And
Hmm.
all that. Sometimes when you're doing breakdancing, you need to have certain mixes played, right?
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
and I always be the one to put those songs together, right? For any shows or any type of uh, uh, invitationals we had. We've done Mall of America. We've done school shows. We try to get this breakdancing thing taken off to at least have a something for the kids to do, right?
Hmm.
And kind of like nowadays, right, where kids have their own groups and whatnot. So it started there, right, and just slowly transitioned into I was already doing the putting mixes together, recording all that, and then just like I said, just transitioned by age, just slowly, just going into the mainstream part of DJing. So I think that happened more when I was in Minnesota.
Sure. So what brought you to Minnesota then, to the Rochester area?
So I had a lot of family already up here.
Nice.
My parents as well. So they're migrants. They would migrate back and forth from Texas to Minnesota.
Hmm.
Working during the warm season and then go back to Texas.
Yeah.
They have a house and everything there, but I just decided to stay. You know what? Let's just continue my career, at least not in the part of like the dancing or the DJing, but in IT. So I have a background in IT. Decided to stay here in Rochester and pursue that career, and that's what made me stay here. I wouldn't say made me stay here, but
Yeah.
I chose to stay here.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And for those of you who don't know, and I haven't mentioned it, of course, the Rochester Mayo Clinic and such, but it's commonly makes the list of kind of some of the top places in the country to live when people are looking at communities and weighing them out into different things. Beautiful place, great area down there. So I can understand, when you came up there that there's a lot of appeal in that part of the state. It doesn't quite get as
Yes.
cold as Ben and I do. You know what I'm saying? There is that,
It,
but it
it
gets
still
cold.
get cold.
It still
Yeah.
gets cold. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So when you started getting, you were familiar with the software, you were able to do the mixes and such. It really became you were getting to the point where it's time to get on a stage and perform. What type of events did you find yourself getting booked for, or being a performer at early on?
I think it started more. I mean, I already had the background of like hip hop and the mainstream music, right? Just kind of getting a way to remix it and putting it out there for breakdancing. But then it came, like I said, mentioned DJ Hulu earlier. That there was a club here in town, small little club, and there was a lot of it just Spanish music, right?
Hmm.
Every weekend it was just Spanish music, and that this little place would get packed like crazy. You wouldn't think that in a Rochester, right? It's a small, I would say a medium-sized city, that it would have so many of Spanish people in this specific area, so many Latino population, and every Saturday it was just packed,
Yeah.
and it just intrigued me that. he was using CDJs and sometimes turntables. He was going the old school way, right? So he was doing a lot of, a lot of just burning CDs. And I remember him flipping books back and forth. And
Mm.
I introduced myself and I said, "Hey, I use a computer, to do my mixes. Why don't I teach you how to get into the digital market, right? Like I said, having the background for IT,
Oh
I
yeah, you were
introduced him
very
to
comfortable.
yeah, yeah, I introduced him to virtual DJ, and ever since then, he's just he just followed it, right, and kind of it where the trend started, where everybody was using virtual DJ and Scratch Live or Serato, right? Everyone had their own liking of how they mix music. But I mean, it just started there, right? The friendship started there with, all right, we're mixing, Spanish music, and I kind of understood more of what was happening because we're in a very diverse culture where it's not just Spanish, but we have a lot of it's a very expanded. We have a lot of Puerto Rican people here.
Hmm.
We have people from Salvador, Brazil. There's a lot of doctors here.
Very
You got to
incredible.
realize that every year there's always transfer programs happening at the clinic, right? So that these doctors fly in from everywhere. It's considered Rochester's considered a med city where we get clients from everywhere or people that are interested in learning
Yeah.
the doctor part of it, and they have their own school. And a lot of the times there's a lot of doctors that are from the southern countries, right, where
Hmm.
they miss, right, they're going to come up to the cold and there's not really much to do. So that's where we came in and just understood their music, their requests as well,
Yeah.
putting down like, okay, Brazilian music, how we got to listen to this style, and understand, or their requests, right, how to put this into the mix. Because a lot of the times, I mean, we encounter a lot of like Spanish music that we didn't never heard of, but yet it's what gets people dancing.
Yeah.
It keeps it in the flow where people are just happy and having fun. So
Hmm. Yeah, and that diversity that you're seeing down there is something that we, even through Central Minnesota, I've been doing some corporate events, and you're seeing more diversity. Especially we do some hospital events, and it's you know. I didn't know what Bollywood music was, as an example, but 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I learned pretty quickly what those were, and not I'm not even close to being fluent in being able to perform at a level, but I know a few enough to,
yeah.
and it's a learning experience because that wasn't it wasn't how I grew up, but things evolve over time, and it's been just a fun experience to expand in those different areas. So yeah.
Yes. So I mean, the other part, you got to realize that a lot of this music is not synced. They're not on grid.
Uh
Like
huh.
a lot of this music is recorded live. So, working with the pitch, right? Working by ear is how we're using computers, yeah, and all that. But when I started, but we also have to learn how to pitch, right, and get it in mix because a lot of this music is not on beat grid. I'll tell you that for sure. And just by that alone, like I think I learned how to mix better, right? And if you've never had that challenge on on learning how to mix music that is not on point, it's gonna it's gonna train you for life.
Uh huh.
No
Yeah.
matter what controller, no matter what turntable CDJs you use, it's just a natural thing that you're gonna learn when you're mixing Spanish. I mean, Spanish DJs understand it. They get it because a lot of this music just is live recorded and it's
Hmm.
crazy.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely keeps you on your toes when it comes to trying to make it to that. Wait a second, all of a sudden our tempo just went. Whoa, what happened here? Yeah,
Yes, yes.
yeah, that's what.
Or the tempo fluctuates and you have to pitch it to keep
Hmm.
that same
To keep it in
tempo.
line. Yeah, the sync button's not your friend.
No, no, at this point,
It's
nope.
not
I
gonna
still
do.
don't use sync. Ever since then I have not
Yeah,
gotten used to
because
sync.
yeah,
It's
if you
just for that reason.
get, you're like, oh yeah, this worked. Nope, it doesn't work here. Not a bit.
Yeah.
So you were performing in clubs and kind of working away. What got you then to more of the mobile aspect of it? And how did you kind of you mentioned earlier doing the weddings and such? When did that start to become part of your business?
I mean, I think like after going through city changes, right? Rochester is growing and buildings needed being shut down or they were being sold. We were eventually moving places to different bars, starting, the nightlife in different bars, right? And it got to a point where like, okay, well, the market for the bilingual part, or at least the Spanish part, it got pretty big where people were asking, okay, well, are you available to do a quinceañera or a wedding or do like that? And, I didn't have my equipment right now. I only had my computer and, whatever I needed to do to, play at a
Perform.
nightclub.
Yeah.
And, and that's, my friend Hulu, he had like the really old school JBLs with like the banana plugs and amplifier and
Yep.
and all that. And I had to learn how to use all that, right? I mean, it was just simple, but um, th- I like we just decided, okay, well, let's start doing some mobile gigs. He had sometimes he'd cover the nightclub, and then I'd go and do mobile gigs, and they were small. Granted, like I said, Rochester, it growing how it's been growing over the years. We've seen the places expand too
Yeah.
because they know that there's a population here. I mean, even like I said, working with the local fair, the fairgrounds here. I mean, they book quinceañeras all summer. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's an all summer thing. They know that's their biggest money maker, and that's how much it's expanded. Where now it's three arenas, and sometimes all three get full of either a Spanish wedding or bilingual wedding or a full Mexican wedding. So
Sure.
it's gotten to a point where the market just grew like crazy,
Mm-hmm.
and especially here. And I think, like I said, jumping back into the bilingual part of it, I think that's the number one thing. And I mean, I know we're talking about my history, but I also want to stress out there that if you don't have a bilingual DJ in your crew, you're missing out.
Oh, for sure.
It's crazy. It's the amount of leads I get just for that. I mean, on my website and everything, that I have a specific page that just talks about bilingual DJ. And I get so many leads, not just from Minnesota, but all surrounding states,
I
which
believe
is
it.
crazy. And couples will pay. They'll pay for your travel. They'll pay for everything just to have this experience because it's a market that I believe it's untouched at times. And
Yep.
and there's times I have to, I can't do it, so I train other DJs under me as well. When I can't do it, I have him do it. I'm under, I'm starting the multi-op part, but that's just, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. Yeah. So when did the Supafly moniker? When did you start to kind of build that persona, and how did that come about?
So I was known as B-Boy Superfly, and it just transitioned. I just switched to B-Boy, right? B-Boy meaning breakdancing boy. And I'm like, okay, well, since people already know me by Superfly, I'm just gonna switch that to just DJ Superfly. And I mean, it just followed me. It
Sure.
followed me ever since middle school. People just knew me. It started off a cartoon. It was some Joe cartoon online, and it was we were trying to find names. We're sitting down, brainstorming. When you're in a crew and you're trying to call yourself something, so people,
Yep.
I wouldn't say it's like a gang, right? But it's more
Hmm.
like a fun thing to do. It's like, okay, well, this guy is gonna be known as this guy when you're introduced, right, for a battle or something like that. It just sounds cooler,
You
right?
sound
When you
better than
have
yeah. Than here's
There's
Billy
I well here's
Shorts. And,
yeah,
yeah.
here's Ivan. Like, no, it sounds better when you have that persona or that nickname. It's
Yep.
here's Superfly, right?
That's a heck.
And everyone is just like friends and family. Everybody, they'll just, instead of calling me by my first name, they'll just say, "Hey, what up, Superfly?" Like, literally, it just came to me. I don't know why. I just stuck for so many years
Oh, funny.
I'm already used to it, so it's okay.
Yeah, yeah. Now it's got see it's the second hand. They just there it is. Yeah. Oh,
Yes.
funny. So now today, are you? You mentioned you're getting into the multi now. Are you running? Do you have any partners, or are you basically the kind of the head cook and bottle washer when it comes to the owning the company?
Yeah, I think I'm the only one now.
Okay.
I'm under my LLC, so I do run it as a brand, but I run it as a LLC. And there is a lot of times, like I said, I'm getting so many leads. It's just crazy, and I need to sit down with some of these guys and actually try to see if we can start the multi-op. And a lot of times, I mean, they're at the pace where they're starting as well. So providing what they need to make a successful event. It could be weddings or quinceañeras and all that. They understand the basics of mixing, the music and all that, and sometimes they don't understand that. Okay, well, nightclub's a little bit different than doing a live event, right? You got to be emceeing, you got to be doing lots of different things, getting comfortable on the mic, and just being that person, right?
Yeah.
That persona, at least for me, is when they mention that I'm doing a quinceañera. People like kids get excited because they already know what to expect as far as like getting the crowd involved too. So
Certainly.
a
Yeah.
lot of crowd involvement, and how do we train those? And the multi-up is something that I'm gonna start getting into, to maybe start partnering with these guys, or just booking the gigs directly and just passing on to
Yeah,
them.
exactly,
So
and that's part of that the growth and such of that. Let's back up a little bit though. So when you made the transition from working, you were working with the gentleman, and you guys were bouncing back and forth between your early mobile shows and that. How long before you kind of broke off and went on your own, where you were basically now you were only doing the shows that you were booking, and you were basically under the DJ Supafly banner?
I mean, I think that's a tricky one, because we still do it now. I
Okay.
mean, like it's been going on for years, and it's like there's just so much. There's so many events. It's like we don't fight
Mm-hmm.
over it anymore. We just decided, okay, he liked more of the nightclub style, right?
Mm-hmm.
And me having that, I say, the knowledge, or how to network stuff, right? Working in IT. Yeah, remember, I'm the one that got him into the technology
Oh
part
yeah,
of
yeah,
it.
yeah.
So, and I just I continue to learn, about DMX, about video walls, about mixing, and getting more music and all that, with having a different diverse community as well. I mean, it's not just the Spanish market, but there's so many different markets out here. I mean, there's Somali as well, that they celebrate some years.
Mm-hmm.
There's the Bollywoods, you mentioned it as well. Definitely get a lot of bookings for those. So it's being diverse, not just in the Spanish market, but I think in general overall. Like, I think getting in that zone that you're comfortable in, right,
Mm-hmm.
or uncomfortable in, right? Because a lot of DJs don't want to
Sometimes,
do
yeah.
things that they're uncomfortable in, and just being in that market where people understand that they're going to trust in you to put on a good show, no matter what it is, or whatnot. But uh, back to that question. I mean, I think it relates to like people think that we were a team, right, or we worked together. It was
Mm-hmm.
not mostly that. We were helping each other,
Sure. No, I
right?
understand.
So when you help each other and you help each other grow, I think that's probably what I wouldn't say what separates us, but rather makes us distinctive of each other.
Mm-hmm.
Where we, maybe he's better at doing this, maybe I'm better at doing that. So when I go in through run through like quinceañeras, I mean, I don't know if you heard of quinceañeras, but it's a
Oh
whole
yeah.
production. Let's put
Oh
it
yeah.
that way.
Very much so.
And just running it as a production where you got to make sure certain things happen. I mean, it's kind of like a wedding, right? The wedding is just traditional. A lot of the stuff is already it's planned. It's always done the same way.
Very
But when
similar.
it
Yep.
comes to quinceañeras, yeah, quinceañeras has so many different levels. It's like bridezilla times 100. Like, there is
Could
just
be.
so many
Yeah.
things happening. You got to say things at the right time. You got to push events, and you got to make sometimes mixes for them as well, so they can practice their mixes ahead of time, because they involve a big court. It's a court of maybe 10, 15 people at times, and you got to
Mm-hmm.
introduce every single person.
Yeah.
uh, and like I said, I think that's what's a different. What separates us is the fact that we did our own thing, and
Mm-hmm.
and I think I got into more of the detail part of working an event versus just DJing an
Yeah.
event.
And then, of course, so you've gone on, you're doing more of the mobile things. In the last few years, you have, a number of years, you've been kind of adding and growing because you're obviously doing these events, but you've been adding more services. Let's kind of dig into that side of it a little bit now. When 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 you're looking at your business and such, and you're thinking, maybe I should add this service or this feature to my business. What kind of things are you evaluating before making some of these jumps to add the things that you have done? And then we'll talk about some of the things you've added, of course. But what are you evaluating before going these directions?
So I think it's a lot of competition,
Okay.
right? Of course, in having that background of like studying what other people, other people are doing around me, other companies, DJs, and all that. As far as like what is interesting, not just for regular consumers as well, but you're also or I'm also pushing it to the Latino market, the Hispanic market. How do we push this to that market as well, where they're gonna like it? So and this is one that I've been wanting to do. I don't know if you've ever seen a robot, the big robot with
Oh yes.
stilts and everything like that. That's one of the things that I've been trying to get into, is having somebody run that, but it requires insurance and it requires training, and you got to know somebody that's willing to dance up there for an hour or so with the stilts on and
Yep.
they don't fall.
You have to have some. You
um,
have to be a pretty good
yeah,
athlete to make these things
yeah.
happen. Yeah.
And I do end up hiring people from the cities that are professionally just doing that. Like that's all they do. So I just contract them for the quinceañeras. A lot of it has to do with photo booths as well. So I
Hmm.
just started doing photo booths. I have a few tutorials on YouTube as well on how to make your own kind of photo booths, right? To help everybody, go into the technical aspect parts of things. But photo booth, I think, is definitely like, I think my number one seller, even for having gigs during the week.
Mm.
Like I'll do, school gigs. I think a lot of school gigs actually, they love how it's the energy, right? How you bring the energy and how you present yourself. I
Hmm.
think most of the time what I'm selling is not the product, but rather their service, right? Someone asked the other day, is like, well, what do you sell? I'm like, I sell my talent and I sell my service. I mean, that's it, right? How do you go into telling people, what you do and all that, right?
Yep.
Versus, oh, you have a photo booth? Like, okay, then that's it. Like,
Yeah.
no, you got to understand, you got to be very creative. You got to be very, like, no, not necessarily negotiating with people, but rather communicating, letting people have like invitation, letting them know, hey, we got this photo booth over here. Why don't you come take a picture, right? You get a free picture. It doesn't cost you anything. You got to act like a salesperson a lot of the times.
Yep.
And if you don't provide that service, then people are not going to want to book you again, and I think that's one of the things that is very hard, and that I'm still learning though too, is doing that. How do we add more services where, I there was one where we do photo booths as well, where it's a 360 camera, right?
Okay.
That's another one too.
Yep.
But I've seen, like, and at least from my experience, like I said, I'm paying attention to what these other photo booth owners are doing. They're also having a dancer or somebody professional, dancing in the middle to get people's attention, right? It could be somebody dressed in a full full gear outfit or something, just dancing while,
Right.
it's an idol, right? Where people are trying to figure out what's that, because we live in, there's society, I think, that it doesn't really get out too much to do something like that, right? Especially in Rochester, you gotta realize we're, a medium-sized city. We don't get the new things right away. People don't understand it, so we have to train people. How do we train people to know what's hip, right? And
Hmm.
I think that's one of the things, is if we show them that, okay, well, there's this new tool that we have. Do you want to try it? If you like it, and you can book us again. So a lot of things comes to do with, okay, we provide the service, but we also want to provide the service of, like, catching up or following up with people as well.
Hmm.
So
And of course,
yeah.
you mentioned, of course, you're looking at the competition and such. Are you, when you're adding like the 360 photo booth, is that something then that uh, once you have it, then you're offering it? Or I mean, it sounds like you are, in some cases, you try it and you like it for some of the corporate events, then you can add it for future events. I mean, how have you implemented these new things into your company? Has it been on that trial basis, or have you been able to book them in advance so they hit the ground running?
I have it booked. I have it set all on my website, so people really like it. I mean, now it was a trial at one point,
Hmm.
for a few events here and there, but once people start realizing that, when you're starting something up, you got to have content. You got to have some
Yeah,
type of
exactly.
examples, because
Yeah.
if you don't have examples of, what you're offering, pictures, videos, or whatever it is how are people going to know what you look like, or how you set your brand, separate from everybody else. So now it's a full paid service, right? I mean, there's occasional some
Sure.
nonprofits that will do here, just pay for labor to help
Yep.
help
Yep. No, that's
uh,
understand. Yeah.
pay for the staff. But it's all just a seamless process. People just go to my website and they just book directly on the website for the dates they're looking for. And then I'll always follow up, like, hey, are you in need of a DJ for this event? So again, a lot of it has to do with following up.
Hmm.
If you're not, finding a way to get that service, to another level where you can get more money, right? And that, I mean, ultimately what we try to do is
Yeah.
when we offer a service, how do we offer more services, right? Just trying to get more information, right? Sometimes people just book directly for the photo booth. They're like, all right, we want this photo booth for this day. It's like, okay, well, follow up with an email. Hey, are you also looking for a DJ? Maybe, I'm available that day, or one of my other DJs, and, we could offer that service as well. And then I'll say something like, I'll offer you 50 to $100 off, for booking the whole package.
Sure.
And that just gets them more excited, because once they realize that they're saving money, right? And they start seeing competition around that maybe they're charging a little bit too more and they could save more, coming
Hmm.
with me. Then they got the package, right? They got the whole, everything's booked and ready to go. Now it's just, it's a stress reliever for them, and they're just going to be happy that they got it,
Hmm.
basically. So
Yeah.
that's how I've been looking at it this past few
Sure.
years.
No, good, good. So you mentioned the robot. That's something that's kind of on your radar. Is there anything else before we get into talking more specific on corporate stuff? Because I want to go into some of those examples. But is there anything beyond the robot? You've got the 360 photo booth that you've added semi recently. It was a couple of years ago, I think, actually.
Mhm.
But what else is that's catching your eye, but maybe you haven't implemented quite yet? And we'll make sure that your competition isn't watching this part. All those you
No,
shut off the camera first, or shut off.
no, I think I've just been trying to like streamline, like set up and tear down. Just trying to go towards like the minimal setup
Hmm.
part of the deal, where you're not sitting at a venue, at 12 or 1 in the morning trying to pick up everything, or getting there and worrying about, okay, well, is the power going to be able to handle all my equipment, right?
Yeah,
Just kind of minimize everything. I think that's my biggest challenge. And it's not necessarily adding a service, but rather, changing the image, right? A little bit, where you want to look good, right? You want to make sure that everything is streamlined, where you're DMXing lights correctly and everything, but all where it's just you get there and it's an hour worth of setup and maybe 20-30 minutes of tear down.
sure.
That's it. I mean, I think as far as like implementing services, I mean, there's not necessarily new stuff. I mean, I do other parts, around the city with like events like karaoke and stuff like that, but that's just like self run systems. It's not necessarily where, I'm going to go ahead and offer that DJ service myself.
Hmm.
Rather, okay, we set up computers, we set up the software and everything that's needed to run, and they do that. So no, I think like understanding the market too. So if you don't understand the market, and especially where I'm at, I mean, it could be if you're in a big city, right, where it's very familiar. I mean, I go into trends, right, and Google Trends, understand what's happening, right.
Sure.
Also looking at competition, seeing what they're offering. I know there's a lot of them that do like music trivia and things like that, and it's like something set apart, and that's, I think, more better towards them, because they've already trained their staff to do that.
Hmm.
And I kind of want to focus on like the Spanish, the bilingual part of it. I mean, we obviously we do all types of wedding, but this year alone, like I said, I've had high schools reach out, like literally high schools reach
I,
out to me,
I believe it.
that
Yeah.
they want a bilingual DJ,
Yeah.
because it's insane. I've never had that. Like the 20 plus years that I've been here in Minnesota, this is the first time that I've gotten a request from a high school to play both Spanish and English music, which is crazy.
Which it's surprising, because you would think that would have happened before, because just in my area there's two high schools that have a very large Latino population within the school, and in one of the schools 60% of the kids now are coming from a
Oh,
Latino heritage. So
ah,
it's been a changing community there, and
yes.
yet they were still, as of a few years back when I was doing proms, I was the prom DJ, and it's like I feel so I just wasn't able. I didn't know the music. And some of the
Yeah.
kids were just English was definitely a second language for them, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah, the bilingual, huge, 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 huge. They're definitely
Yeah.
with them. Let's talk a little bit about corporate events. As I've been kind of watching, you guys have been doing some. I've seen you doing some sound for larger events, doing some production work with that. Let's kind of talk about some of the events you've done down in Rochester that are on the larger scale now. Because we were talking about the 30-minute breakdown. Some of
Yeah.
those things I've seen you post pictures of. That's not a 30-minute breakdown.
No, yeah. So I mean, just having that experience, right, and having, just running through just the DJ, and I've always wanted to maybe expand myself a little bit more and trying to, at least with knowledge, right, in the production part of things. So there is a company here called Big Bang. I'm wearing their shirt. There's Big Bang Production, so I do work for them, and we set up LED screens. We do whole big production. We do big bands. There's a lot of city events, so we get hired a lot through the city
Mm.
to do. We just had one recently, a few weeks ago. It's called Socialize, where a lot of local bars, they get together downtown. They have ice sculptures, right, to their theme, whatever theme that they're, want to make. There's Willy Wonka, and there's so many different themes that we have an ice sculpture, just basically design all these ice bars. And it happens every year in February. So if you're in Minnesota, maybe you've heard of it. If you're outside of Minnesota, then yeah, you're probably gonna say it's too cold for
I
you.
was going to say, yeah, you're going to have to explain some of this because there are people who are like, ice sculpture, isn't that the thing at the end of the buffet table that just sits there?
Yeah, no,
Kind of,
no,
but no,
yeah,
it doesn't melt for
yeah.
a little while.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big scene up here. I mean, it's not just in Rochester, but it happens all across Minnesota. I mean, I want to say across Minnesota, but the
Other
upper
communities,
Midwest, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
there's definitely.
But we do have that. That was just a recent event we did, and we were hired to do the whole stage. So we ended up putting trussing. We ended up running LED screens all around a plaza. We call it the Peace Plaza. So we had a big LED screen behind the DJ. Had one in front as a facade, and then I was networking all types of. Running all types of networking gear, so making sure that the remote LED screens were also kind of, showing what was happening on stage, pushing some promo videos, QR codes. People can vote for their favorite bar. That we had an interactive camera on one as well, where if kids kind of like you see back here, but
Hmm.
you can have different effects, like having it so that your face shows as a heat map, kind of like the Snapchat filters and
Yeah,
all
yeah.
that,
Hmm.
stuff like that. Where we were doing it more towards not necessarily concentrating as like a concert, rather more of an interactive experience, because with Socialize, we want to get people to be outside to stay there a little bit longer, maybe to enjoy what these local bars have to offer, because at the same time they were offering liquor, what their choice of drink was for the night, or for the whole theme of the show. That's one. We do Thursdays on First in the summer, so we hire the whole bands. I mean, we hire a lot of diverse bands. Well, it's just, I'm talking. We have a list of over 200 bands just in the Rochester alone. It's
That you
crazy.
guys work with.
Uh, we hire, I mean, locally, and we also hire from around Minnesota as well.
Sure.
We try to keep it local, but Thursdays on First, we never heard of it in Rochester as well. So they close down First Street in Rochester, where it's a big festival. A lot of vendors come out.
Nice.
They're selling food or selling merchandise or whatever it is, and we usually have production stage set up in two areas, one in a trailer and then one in a plaza area, running two different things at once. Could be a solo act or could be a full on band. What else we do? We do rodeos as well. So rodeos, this company owns a rodeo. We run the whole rodeo production part of it as well, and then we
Hmm.
throw an after party concert. I mean, it's just a
There's a
lot of
lot of,
production stuff.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
There's so many opportunities because again, that is Rochester is just such a neat little area with so much diversity and so much opportunity. I got to hit a part of social ice though. We got to go back to that. You said the word outside. For those who are not understanding, your stage is not in a ballroom.
oh, it's right outside.
It is
We were
truly outside. And how cold
right.
was it this year when you guys were doing some of your things?
It was like -30. I mean, it was snowing too in one of the days of the show. We had all week to set up, and it was just horrible. I mean, I'm surprised I didn't get sick. I think I just got, I grew that thick skin, right? That
Yep,
Minnesota skin.
you've gotten it there.
Uh, Yep, and there was, a lot of friends that were complaining, a lot of coworkers that, they weren't wearing the right gear. You got to realize, if you're going to be out in the cold, you got to wear the right gear.
Yep.
If you're not, and your face is going to get frozen, your lips are going to get chapped. I had very bad chapped
Oh my
lips
gosh,
that
yes.
week too. I had cuts everywhere. It was insane, even though I was wearing a scarf. It was bad. It was bad. But yes, I mean, you're dealing with with nature, right? And I think that's one of the things that this company has helped me push, right? Further was not necessarily learning the production part of how to run an event, but also, running through nature, because I
Yeah.
mean we've done events cross country as well, where we're in Colorado, Denver, Colorado, Aspen, like mountains where there's mud and there's generators, and the only way to get in and out is through four wheeler,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, but socialize. Yes, it's outside. It's a Friday Saturday event. We usually hire DJs to run, or to put on the show. I was one of the DJs this year, and it was more because we didn't have a lot of DJ applicants,
mm,
submit their application. I try to push a lot of the stuff. So when there's events, we tend to hire, right, DJs or talent and all that for our events as well. And a lot of the times, I wouldn't say a lot of the times, but I'll usually volunteer
mm-hmm. Yeah.
if there's no one willing to step up and deal with the cold, right?
Yeah.
And
And that's a
and
real thing this year.
yeah, and
Definitely.
the only one good thing that I did this year was I did buy a portable propane heater,
Oh,
like a big propane heater,
yep.
and it was sitting behind me that whole time, and it was perfect. It was,
Helps
I don't know, I
tremendously.
was having the time of my life, and
Nice.
it was so much fun.
Yeah. When it hurts to be, when the air is hurting you, that's just that. Yeah. There's something just not right with that.
Yes.
Supafly, I want to take our last few minutes here and talk a little bit about some of the things that you have been doing, because you do utilize a lot of social media, and kind of talk a little bit about how you're utilizing social media these days to help promote and help get your word out, whether it's to clients or even to other DJs out there, because you mentioned some educational content you've also created. So where are you at in social media, and what are you really focusing on for creating that content?
A lot of the time is a lot of promo. If you're not sharing at least daily or every 2 times, a week, 2 to 3 times a week, I mean, it's not you're not doing your job as part as promoting your business. You got to realize that Facebook, Instagram, all these businesses they're free. You don't have to pay for any of these services. It's all who follows you, right? You create a following. Once you start spreading the word about something, I mean, it could be my DJ part of it, or when I start sharing events for the city events that we do, people just follow, right? Because they understand that if you're posting constantly, they know it's a true and legit event, or a true legit information.
Mm-hmm.
So without that information being pushed into people's faces, I mean, like I said, it could be even TikTok. Everybody's using TikTok nowadays. I do run sometimes where I pay Google Ads to do a lot of the keyword competition, or a lot of Facebook ads as well. But that's usually towards when I feel like the slower months are happening,
Sure.
and the rest of the year it's just perfect. But a lot of I think that what I like to share, at least when I'm doing my stuff, is my talent, right? And like I said, sometimes I like to jump in and scratch, right? And I could be scratching here and there, because everybody, there's a lot of DJs that just promote that they're having fun with people, and there's people dancing, or it's a very familiar, I'd say, like a shot where people take where everyone's dancing to the Cupid Shuffle.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they take a video of that. It's like it's a given. They're
Yeah.
gonna
Yeah. Yeah.
dance no matter
Exactly.
what.
Yep.
It's like that's too popular. I understand that, but there's ways to get people to understand that, again, you're selling yourself as the talent. So how do you show off your talent? And it could be a a mashup, or something that you do, right? It could be just something small,
Mm-hmm.
something where you could put together a 2 minute video, not even a 2 minute video, just scratching, having a little bit of fun, and just showing people what you're capable of. One of the things that I did learn on, like, for especially for schools, because I'm getting hired a lot for schools, a lot of proms and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm offering a lot of times to go DJ, lunchtime, to sell prom tickets, right? I'll show up with a portable speaker and just, show up there to get the kids excited, letting them know, hey, you're actually gonna listen to an actual DJ that knows how to mix, and what to expect to have fun. I think what else? What is the other one that oh, YouTube. So I do YouTube
Mm-hmm.
videos. So I do a lot of I try to do reviews here and there, right, with equipment or like being in the scratch industry as well, or scratch DJ part of it. That I do a lot of like innovator or fader type videos, how to install them on these controllers, because being a big scratch nerd,
Yep, yep.
I do like a specific fader feeling, right? And
Mm-hmm.
innovator is one of them that has that very good buttery fader touch
Feel.
and all that.
Yep, yep.
And I shoot a lot of that. I try to shoot some reviews here and there of products that I buy myself, not necessarily sponsored by anybody, but uh, there's a lot of that content that goes into my YouTube channel, and I think just recognizing, just talking to other DJs from like all across Minnesota, they'll say, "Hey man, thanks for your video, for
Yeah.
showing me how to do this, how to network, how to do like mix emergency like videos and all that, how to run video over network, NDI is what they call it now."
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I started like even before COVID, when we were in that streaming
Yep.
phase where people wouldn't understand how NDI worked, and I like shot videos before then, and I was getting so many hits on how to stream from your phone, right, or
Mm-hmm.
do things like that, and I think that's what I got my name a little bit out there with at least the YouTube part of it, but it's still a small channel. I got some videos, and I try not to do like your average reviews of types of stuff. I just try to do what my opinion is, being
Mm-hmm.
nerdy person that I am. That's just me.
Yeah. And that's what people like when you're real you out there doing and talking, and you've used the stuff. There's a different level of credibility that you bring to the table with that, and that's great stuff. So, Superfly, our time is up here tonight. For people who want to check out some of these channels, how can they find you on social media?
It's either DJ Supafly, Supafly, or just look Ivan Superfly. I kind of try to attach my first name to the nickname people know me by.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all over Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. So again, Ivan Superfly or DJ Superfly. Or just at DJ Superfly. I try to keep it simple so that people understand. But
Yeah.
I'm mostly all over online. Try to connect all my accounts so I can just post once and have them go everywhere.
There you go. Yep, that can be definitely beneficial. So, Superfly, thank you for being with. And again, tonight's show is brought to you by DJ Event Planner. The link for that is down in the description of this video, djeventplanner.com. You can go check that out. They're one of the big sponsors here at DJNTV. And of course, they sponsor our interview shows we do on Monday and Tuesday nights. So, Ivan, thank you much. It was great catching up, my friend, and I look forward to our next time we can get together.
Sounds good. Thank you, John, for
We'll
having
be
me.
back in about
Appreciate it.
we'll be back in about 10 minutes with our second show tonight with with Tuesday night. Ben Stowe's jumping in, so it's Tuesday night with Ben Stowe, and back in 10.